One of my favorite memories of my grandfather Tiny was on a Thanksgiving day. And it was many years ago. Myself, my older brother Michael, and my cousins Amy and Paula, we were all trimming turkey. And Tiny comes into the kitchen and sees his 4 grandchildren there, all working together. One, it was a great time with my cousins and my brother, but to see the look on Tiny's face, it was wonderful. Just the pride that he had in seeing his 4 grandchildren working together with his wife Dorothy. And I knew in that moment, it was a very special moment. So I will always remember that Thanksgiving with Tiny and my family in the Bavarian Inn restaurant kitchen.
I was very fortunate during my elementary school years to spend a tremendous amount of time with my grandfather, Tiny Zehnder. He would pick me up around 9 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes we would go fishing, sometimes hunting, sometimes checking the farms. And when it was time for lunch, if we didn't have any food at their house, we would go to the Dead Creek Saloon and have a half a cup of chili, a half a steak sandwich, and I would order a large cup of chili and a large burger. That was some bonding times that we had. Not many people spend too much time in the Dead Creek Saloon at the age of 7, 8, 9 years young, but I think it built some character.
I worked with my father, Tiny Zehnder, in a management position for about 40 years. And so I have many memories. This one I would like to relate to you, though, goes back to the beginning, about 40 years ago. And I was new to the business in management. And we were having lunch, probably in this room. And my father walked in and had his plate and sat down and said, well, something sad happened to me today. I heard a story. And he begins to start crying as he's telling me how the wife who was working with us and the husband had developed breast cancer. And I remember him reaching in his pocket and getting out his white hanky, because at that time every man had a white hanky. In fact, I still prefer a white hanky over a Kleenex also. And he was, wiping his eyes and blowing his nose. And it dawned on me at that point that the reason that my father was successful and the reason why his parents were so successful is their team members, their employees. They were their family. And we rejoiced in their gladness, but we cried when something sad happened. And so I've tried to my life, not just in working, but also in my personal life, to emulate that. For what joy one has when the people that they surround themselves with at work can bring them joy. But then, of course, there's the sadness. And as Tiny would say, the more people you know, the more happiness you have when you can relate to them on a personal basis, but the more sadness you have, which means more funeral visits. The story has a good ending. This woman, although it was an aggressive breast cancer, she got treatment and she lived to be well into her 80s. And so for me, the lesson that I learned at a young age was to learn how to love and to learn how to be happy, and then a lesson on how to also experience the sadness with your team members.